Hey there, gang. Patrick King coming to you again live from the Lincoln House Hotel in Cazenovia, New York. Our question for today is coming from Judy. So, Judy sent in the question, I recently have been in several large barns that train Western pleasure, halter, and ranch competition horses. The horses are tied everywhere, in the stalls, in the arena, standing for an hour or more. Can you give me the benefits of this practice? Don't get me wrong, my horses tie and would stay tied all day, but I don't ask them to do that. Is this to think about a lesson that they've had or soak up the knowledge standing there? What about from a bodywork or muscular perspective? So, what the barn does, what the training barn does, is pretty much irrespective of the practice of tying. Okay, so their Western pleasure halter ranch competition. That really doesn't matter. I know reining barns. I know that part doesn't matter. The the practice of tying for long periods of time. My question, Judy, is going to be, did you ask them specifically? Because I would imagine everybody might have a different reason for why they're doing this. I try to put a couple things into consideration when I'm going to tie a horse, if I'm going to tie him for a certain length of time. Now, when I would tie a horse for a length of time like that, I do tie horses for an hour, maybe up to a couple hours. And I would want them to be able to stand tied, to have the ability to stand tied for much longer even. As a general practice, in case I'm going to be hauling them down the road for a certain length of time, for several hours, it's a good idea as a safety measure to prepare that horse for a long trailer ride so that we know that they're going to be okay with that. Now, more pragmatically, I might tie a horse for a length of time after he's had a good fresh bath so that he doesn't go roll in the mud and get himself dirty again. If that's a horse that I'm going to be taking in a competition or giving an exhibition demonstration with, that would be a reason to me for allowing a horse to stand tied for another certain length of time. More common for me is if I've got a horse that's very nervous around other horses working, other action going on. I would have that horse stand tied in the arena while I'm riding, and while maybe several other people are riding around the horse, just so the horse gets used to kind of the passive experience of being able to stand relaxed, stand tied while the other horses are working around that horse. Now, additionally, I might take that horse off of the wall. If I've got him tied along the wall or along the fence, I might take him off of there and pony him around for a little while, again, to help boost his confidence around those other horses, and then allow him to go stand tied again for that. Maybe I might have a horse standing tied waiting for the veterinarian or waiting for the farrier or something like that. That, to me, could be a good reason for having a horse stand for a good length of time. Maybe I have a couple horses to ride and I have a groom out helping me and they get the horses ready and tack them up and have them stand tied along the rail for a little while. To me, that's perfectly acceptable. When we start talking about the horse's thinking and soaking, if the horse is capable of standing relaxed, then, they could potentially soak on or think about the lesson that they've had. But that, to me, is going to come from an attitude side of things. Are we tying a horse to teach him a lesson? If that's the case, then we're tying them for the wrong reason. If we're tying a horse as punishment, that's the wrong reason. If we're tying our horse's head around, even I've seen this happen a lot of times. You'll see horses in certain barns where there'll be, one horse or maybe up to a few horses tied around to the saddle or tied around to the stirrup. I would say, if you're talking to someone, if you're asking them about their practice of tying, if they're tying a horse to punish him, if you're tying him so he learns a lesson, if they're tying him so that he can be more supple by tying him around, then I'd say those are people I want to distance myself from. In fact, I would say they're just short of foolish and don't really have much understanding of the horse's mental capacity because those things just don't work in the horse's brain for those reasons. So I'm not saying they're bad people, just saying they don't understand enough. I wouldn't let them handle my horses. Some other things that I try to think about, again, so if they're tying the heads up, tying them around, that sort of stuff, that's garbage. It's baloney. I've heard somebody say once, that's not horsemanship, that's bullshit. And I would agree with that. I would go in line with that. Something else that I would keep into consideration if I'm tying a horse for a long time, we want to think about how long is that horse standing potentially without food or water. More likely, I would say, without food because their systems are not made to go a long time without something in them. This is why, they're grazing animals. This is why we hay frequently. The water part, yes, of course, that's important. But I would say more important for the digestive health of your horse, I wouldn't want him to stand tied for too long without, having something in his system. So an hour, 2 hours, absolutely. I think that's totally fine. Longer than that, you're asking for ulcers at the very least. Another thing we want to think about, and Judy mentioned it in additional comments within her question, is muscle fatigue. From a body work perspective, if you're riding a horse and you're really giving him a workout, it's just like you or I. If we go to the gym and we really bust it out there and we work hard and our muscles really get worked, as we would, potentially maybe be doing with our horses in this case, standing still is probably not the best idea for those horses. You're going to be looking at all sorts of muscular problems, stiffnesses, sorenesses, other potential problems as a breakdown from standing tied after working too hard. Or after working hard. Maybe not too hard, but too hard for that situation. Okay, please don't get me wrong on that. Another thing that we want to think about is potential leg issues. If the horse is standing tied, now they can stand still and shift their weight, but if they're in a position where they can't move around at all, then we could potentially be looking at leg issues because we understand that the circulation in a horse's legs operates off of almost a hydraulic system through the hooves, in that when they move their feet, it helps the blood to flow through their body. So now I don't see too many people tie their horses so tight or short that they can't at least move their front legs, although I have witnessed some barns where the horses' heads were tied pretty high in the air so that they couldn't move around. We don't need to get into why they did this because that goes into that bullshit answer, and we'll just say it's a barn that I distanced myself from. It's a kind of place that I would hope everyone would distance themselves from because there's nothing mentally, emotionally, or physically beneficial from doing that. So, should you tie your horse for a long length of time? Will it help him to learn patience? Will it help him to learn to relax? Yes. How long is a long time? Depends. I would allow one to stand tied for, up to an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours if I needed to, again, because we're waiting for the vet, we're waiting for the farrier, things like that. Again, it's about the reasons why, to me, more in this case than the practice itself. If the horse is being tied for punishment, if the horse is being tied to think about a lesson, things like that, that's garbage. Stay away from people that'll give you answers like that. So, I hope that that's helpful. If you found this insightful or helpful, please pass this video along to your friends. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we do upload each day our daily video, and those are there for you to review and watch as much, as often as you would like to. Question for the day. We're going to go with the tying theme. Question for the day for you guys. Do you prefer to cross tie, straight tie with a single line, Or are you a more traditional kind of person on the western side of the world? Do you hobble your horse? What's your preference? Cross ties, straight ties, or hobbles? Give us the answer in your comments below. I'm looking forward to hearing them. Don't forget, gang, you keep asking questions, I'll keep giving you answers. Thanks so much.